It sure seems like JT Miller's time in Vancouver is coming to an end. We'll discuss the latest rumors on a potential trade, plus the latest on Elias Pettersson, Brock Boeser, and Thatcher Demco in Vancouver. Major Canucks update tonight. Plus, we also have some significant news on the NHL salary cap. We may get a bigger than expected increase for the coming year, and we might actually get an announcement from the NHL in the near future around not only the coming season, but maybe for a couple of years down the road as well. We'll discuss all the latest coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss tonight. Let's first start with the news from Elliot Friedman tonight regarding the salary cap. We also got news earlier from another insider about the status of revenues and escrow with the NHL as well. So essentially, as Friedman reported on Saturday Headlines tonight, it sounds like revenues obviously are doing extremely well in the NHL, and that we may get more than just information for the coming season for next year for 25-26 for the salary cap. Of course, based on the current CBA and the memorandum of understanding, the increase that was previously agreed to that doesn't need to be approved by anybody else would take it up to $92.5 million, but it could be a few million more than that. Obviously, the NHL and the PA have the ability to do that based on an agreement together that they have. So the belief is that with everything being as strong as it is, that it's expected it could be a more significant increase, in that the NHL might actually work with the PA to agree on the cap not only for next year, but for maybe at least 1 year after that. So it's possible it'll allow teams to kind of plan ahead a little bit more from that perspective. But at the end of the day, it's not confirmed just yet, but it sounds like we could get a bigger than expected cap increase. Now, Frank Saravalli indicated earlier today that with revenues being so strong that as of January 30th, the NHL has terminated escrow payments, so they won't have to be paying any more escrow off of their pays for the rest of the year, which is fantastic. So that's great. The players are going to love and appreciate that for sure. It means that the owners have already gotten their 50% of the pie. So more money goes into the players' pockets the rest of the way. So that obviously shows that business is good. Lots of great revenues. Caps are going up by more than the allotted amount, at least it's expected to. And like I said, we also got a situation where we're making multiple years of an agreement here in place. Now, the Vancouver stuff is getting really crazy and complicated. Now, the Canucks are playing the Edmonton Oilers tonight. There were reports earlier this evening and later in the day that JT Miller might not play tonight. He might be held out because a trade was getting close. Trade talks broke down, and it's no longer considered imminent, so he is in the lineup tonight for the Vancouver Canucks. But it is quite possible that this could be his last game as a Canuck as well. So essentially, a couple of things here. One, with Miller, we know the whole Miller-Pettersson situation has been kind of escalating, and the Canucks feel obligated here to likely do something and move one of them. We've heard that they've been taking calls on both players, and that a lot of insiders felt it was a pretty good chance that one of them at least would probably move by the deadline. So that's where we find ourselves here today. And it seems like, based on what we've heard tonight, that Pettersson is pretty much going to stay. It sounds like he's indicated to the Canucks that even though he has no trade protection in his contract, that his preference would not to be traded and to stay in Vancouver. Whereas it sounds like when it comes to JT Miller, that the Canucks are pushing harder to move him. Now, he has not requested a trade to the Vancouver Canucks. His agent wanted to make that clear. A lot of people have come to question his effort, saying he's been checked out in the last couple of games. His effort levels in play has been pretty bad, and the Canucks haven't done super well. So certainly he is getting a lot of flack for that, and wondering, if he wants out. But that's not official right now. All the trade chatter around Miller is initiated because the Canucks feel it's the best thing to do for their team, not because of Miller wanting it or requesting it. So there is that situation. So right now it sounds like, as much as they've been taking calls on both players, that they've kind of made a decision based on the players' request and what they want, and Pettersson's not going to move, and that Miller most likely is going to, and it could happen here quickly. I know things were definitely trending towards a trade with the New York Rangers. JT Miller almost returned to New York. Chris Drury, we know, has had heavy interest. There was also a scenario where the Hartford, the American Hockey League affiliate for the Rangers, had some notable healthy scratches tonight as well. At least one of those players was not connected, I'm told, to the trade, but one or two of the others could have been. So there is that. So the fact that the Rangers are holding out some young players is certainly pretty promising. That trade talks, I think, could pick back up. But for right now, they broke down, couldn't come to an agreement, and they must not feel like it's, like super imminent or anything, or Miller wouldn't be playing. So again, we don't know if the Rangers and the Canucks are going to continue. It sure sounds like they're likely going to, but right now the deal in place is not happening. Whatever the Rangers were trying to offer to finalize the deal was not satisfactory to the Vancouver Canucks. Now, there's also been some interesting other talks here in interviews. Like, for example, Doug MacLean, former NHL executive, longtime broadcaster, makes regular appearances on the Real Kipper and Bourne show, so with Nick Kiprios and Justin Bourne and Sportsnet. He was saying that, based on what he's been told, that Thatcher Demco even isn't really thrilled with the situation in Vancouver, and that he's not excited to play. Kind of stirred the pot a little bit that maybe Thatcher Demco might not be happy and maybe want to go too. I mean, they really didn't come out and say that Demko didn't want to be there anymore. He never said that Demko wanted to trade, but saying, and as the Doug MacLean old expression goes, I'm not telling you what's fact or what's truth, I'm just telling you what I heard. So that's what he had heard through the grapevine, was that Demko wasn't excited to play and get back in the lineup here recently. And we know that the Canucks wouldn't have put him in just for the sake of trying to get a win or something. I think the people want to believe that they'd do the right thing by his health. And where he had missed so much time, what's a little bit more? To be honest, Lankinen played well in his absence. They kind of had a good, solid plan that was helping and working early in the season as well. So it's not like it would be a scenario they're not familiar with. So it's interesting that way. Now, Brock Boeser also has done a recent interview with Sportsnet. And in his article, it kind of sounds like he's accepted the fact that he may not be back next year. He might be traded. There's certainly some wondering about his future. The belief is that right now that the extension talks have not gone well between the Canucks and Boeser, and we don't really know exactly where things stand, but it seems like Vancouver might be a little bit reluctant to give out a lot of term and money on a player like him. So we don't know what the future is going to hold. In the article, that interview that Boeser did with Sportsnet, he did acknowledge that the Canucks have a lot of say in that future as well, given that he could be traded before or after or during. So we know Boeser at this point doesn't have the trade protection. The Canucks feel like it's the right move. We know they'll pull the trigger. So I mean, he even acknowledged that teams that don't do well, have to accept that change is coming. And, potentially here we are. It's not just a case of Pettersson or Miller going. Could guys like Demko and Boeser kind of force the team's hand as well? I mean, clearly a Miller trade might be a case to shake things up in a more positive way to see where everything's at, and maybe they go about things a little bit differently. It's hard to really say 100%. But if Vancouver, who was, multiple rounds into the playoffs last year, all of a sudden within a year, go to a team that's at best a wildcard playoff team, and then at the same time have multiple playoff games where, things haven't gone well, and then this year they've taken a major kind of step back, you might see a mass exodus of some star players. So could the near future bring us a case of Miller, Boeser, and Demko not being in Vancouver? I wouldn't think, but I mean, obviously the Canucks have a big decision to make. Where Boeser's a UFA, Demko signed for multiple years. Maybe after the Miller and Pettersson situation's resolved, maybe things get better with him. Hard to say, but they certainly can't really have a mass exodus period here. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe if one trade involving Miller, how that affects the rest of the team and how the rest of the moves might go. But certainly could be a scenario where this team in Vancouver sees significant change here. If they don't see a good positive change in this team, heading towards the end of the year. So we'll have to wait and see and follow the results. But I would suspect at this point that a JT Miller trade is probably going to happen in a very, very near future. Wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if it's sometime in the next day or two, maybe a little bit longer. Hard to say. They're clearly working hard at it. And, we don't know exactly how many teams are involved. We know that the Devils had previously expressed interest, and it's believed that before they could really get too far, that obviously they would have to, try to do some digging here. Another thing that Elliott mentioned as well when it comes to Miller and Pettersson, both the Canucks have sent a memo around, I guess, kind of making sure teams knew that it's not okay to tamper with their players, that unless they grant permission, they're not supposed to be talking about any of our players. And, well, we don't know for sure examples of where that happened, but I'm guessing it must have if they did. So certainly, the Canucks are believed to have given teams, at least some teams, permission now to speak to Miller. We can't confirm New Jersey is one of them because they have been in the mix reportedly, but we don't know just how serious they are. The Rangers are the main team we know that they've been talking to regarding a trade revolving around JT Miller heading back to New York. So let me know your thoughts on the Canucks drama. Where's it going to lead? Is Miller going to be moved here in the next day or two? We'll discuss that scenario, what a return deal might look like in the comment section down below. So certainly let me know your thoughts, especially if you're new to this channel. Make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching. I will catch you next time.